I became familiar with the work of the late Dr. Wilhelm Reich, a distinguished physician whose life was surrounded in controversy and who died in a federal prison in the United States and had his books and experimental bulletins burned by federal court order. This is a very eminent medical doctor educated at the University of Vienna, who was, during his initial work in psychoanalysis, the first clinical assistant to the eminent Dr. Sigmund Freud. Dr. Reich focused his clinical work on the enormous convulsive energies that manifested in patients at certain phases of their therapy. He could not believe that ordinary people could be going through this type of convulsive activity unless there was some kind of energy driving the entire process. His focus on the energy that was causing the convulsions led him, after a long and involved attack on the problem, to establish that there was a specific biological energy. He called this energy orgone, O-R-G-O-N-E. And in that way, he identified it, first of all, with things organic, and secondly, with the human orgasm, which was really the root of his original research. That was the thing to which he devoted his life. And he established, after considerable labors and devoted effort, that the orgone energy was a real physical energy, and that you could indeed manipulate this energy in the atmosphere. And he found this out in the most strange circumstance imaginable. In Maine, where he had his laboratory, there was a nearby lake, a very large lake, and he observed that there was what we call heat waves going above the surface of the lake in the summertime. That is what we would call them in a general way today. Most people would say heat waves. He said, now wait a minute, this isn't quite right. There is a certain order to the way they move. They move from west to east. They don't move in any other direction. There's a directional component to this. And while he was making observations of this kind, systematically and over a period, he happened one day to step into a depression in the ground there at the laboratory where some construction was going on. And there was a mass of pipes that were being cut for installation in this depression in the ground, and they were in water because this was an ongoing construction project. And when he stepped on one of these pipes, he noticed that the energy that was going across the surface of the lake jumped like that. And so he tried it again, and he pressed the pipe down into the water, and the energy jumped again. He found that he could do this almost like pushing a button. And that is how he discovered the link between the atmospheric orgone energy and the means of developing it. That is to say, pipes. Pipes with one end grounded in water. That is the origin of the device that he invented and gave to the world, and which has been extensively used since, even if not officially approved. It's not politically correct, let's put it that way. And he gradually developed a system of operating multiple pipes with a special grounding system into running water. And he found that he could interdict and back up this west-east flow that he observed over the surface of the lake. And thereby, the basis for controlling the weather was laid, in a sense, by a series of fortuitous accidents, as so many great discoveries have their origin. That was the way it was with the discovery of the orgone energy. So I inherited it pretty much in the way that Dr. Reich left it when he died in a federal prison in 1957 and had all his books and papers burned, so that none of the bright people who are around today would have any access to information of that kind. It's very, very powerful and important information.